Morning. Revibe. Okay. Revive. As for what's happening, I don't know. I never know. Probably something. I tell you guys that in about 10 days now. What's called? My 3 months will be finally over. The 3 months, the trial period, for streaming. I'm not sure what's happening after that. I guess we'll see. It's been a while, hasn't it? Been about 80 days. Yeah, 80 days of streaming, roughly. It's quite a time. Doesn't feel like it's been that long. Interesting to think about. So I'm not sure. I haven't talked about it, I feel like, in a while. But the reason I started streaming was because I felt like there was like some sort of higher power that was telling me I was supposed to stream. I don't know what that is or what that means or what that feeling was. I don't actually remember. But I do remember I felt it at one point in time. And I'll trust the past Josh. I'll trust the past me. You know, to be what do you call that? that he definitely felt something like that, probably. And so, for that reason, we trust our past selves, and we started streaming. We've forgotten what the feeling felt like or what it was supposed to, at least supposed to be. But it seems to have worked out pretty well so far. I've learned quite a bit from streaming. Gotten to meet a whole bunch more people because of it. Gotten to get more friends. Got to get more used to social interaction and learning about myself and how to deal with people, as well as how people deal with us. I feel I've learned quite a bit from it, and it was definitely correct. That's what I want to say. Yeah, it feels correct. As for I don't know where I'm planning on taking this. One of my requirements for doing this was that I'd be able to sustain myself at least in some way, monetarily, by the end of 3 months. And if that was not able to happen, I would, I don't know. But that was at least one of my requirements I had. And we'll see if that is possible or not. Whether it'll have to happen. I think pretty different would have to happen within a 10-day period. Granted, I don't even have a set of a thing to donate. Granted, I probably should, but I was working for my dad before I started streaming, but my dad is very you can't. He's not a really, I don't want to say trustworthy, but he's not reliable. He's definitely not reliable. And in that instance, he was one day he's like, yeah, you know what? I don't need you helping me with my work anymore. So I got someone else to do that for me now. I'm like, okay. And so then I'm left like, what the fuck do I do now? I'm like, alright, maybe I'm supposed to stream. It feels like that at least. And so then I started streaming. And it just happened to be that the new Onx server was coming out right at that time. I felt like this was the direction I was probably supposed to be going in. And it ended up working out, and I'm being correct. I feel like I hope I've been able to help people. That's the one thing I've been hoping. As for what exactly I'm hoping to achieve out of this, I don't know if I'm hoping to achieve anything other than wanting to help people. I mean, ideally, I would like something sustainable in nature, but it's, if not, yeah, so be it. One of the things I've learned from this time period, I guess you can say, of trying to stream, or sort from being in the city even here, is that There, everything is good. Everything is good. There is no such thing as bad things. There's only things that you let be bad. In that same sense, you could say there's only things you can let be good, and that's very true. You can let everything be good if you choose to, and I choose to. It's just very difficult sometimes. But even something like difficulty isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Challenges, you are meant. Challenges are good. You grow from them. Stop stagnation. I feel like you don't grow as a person unless you challenge yourself, right? Unless you do something different, and if you don't fall into the same routine every single day. I mean, I feel like even I'm being sitting here might be falling into the same routine quotations, but it does feel like there's new things that we're doing every single day in the city here, so that's always been nice. I feel like I'm learning new things, not as fast as I was at the very beginning, but I mean that's to be expected, right? Or maybe that's bad to have that sort of expectation. I think that might be bad to have that sort of expectation in the first place. It's bad to have, it's generally not a good thing to have expectations. Or is it? Because all things are thinking. Wait. You know, I think about it. I've heard what's the phrase? Is that the expectations, or was it comparison, as the source of suffering? But if I really think about it, is suffering necessarily a bad thing? Quotations. It can be. But if we voluntarily choose for it to happen, thinking. Like I could make an argument as something like working out, you know, where you're constantly making you're destroying your muscles to build them back up again, right? I could make the argument that that is a form of suffering, right? Because you're constantly being sore and experiencing pain in some way, right? But it's not necessarily like a bad kind of pain, right? If you've ever like really seriously worked out before, it feels kind of like good to just be sore. I'm not sure if everybody experiences that, but at least from my experience, that's what I felt. Like you're like, wow, this feels good. Like I'm actually achieving something. I'm growing. I enjoy being challenged. I ask for challenges every single day. Like, please challenge me. Please challenge me. I want a new challenge that I have to deal with. I'm like, fuck. Oh god, this is hard. Okay, how do I go get over it? Sometimes there are challenges where I'm like, okay, maybe this is a little too much for me right now. But most of the time I can overcome just about anything that I come across. It's been very, very rare. Actually, I can't think of the time really where there's been something I haven't been able to overcome. Very surprisingly. At least in the period of time here, about 3 months now. Let's see. As for where I'm going with this, I don't fucking know. I never know. Does List know? Maybe List knows. It's unlikely. He just kind of does, kind of do. Doobie. Liz is a bit, maybe more than a bit different in the aspect that he's not someone who really hesitates too much. When somebody likes to hesitate, likes to plan, likes to think ahead for hours before I do anything. He is not the same in that aspect. It's very strange. Does not hesitate, and that's for sure. He definitely doesn't hesitate. I don't know why. Why doesn't he hesitate? I'm someone who hesitates greatly. Actually, no. There was one of the few times I've decided to just do was for streaming. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just do. I don't need to think too hard about why this is a good or bad thing. I just need to let me just do. I did spend a good few days, like just getting together everything for streaming to make sure that stuff was set up right and I could actually do stuff. And I still had problems afterwards. I still had many problems afterwards, but I still made sure to prep. I guess is saying that even then I wasn't fully prepared. You know, you never can be. But I do like to prep. I love prepping. I feel like I do my best when I prep. I actually, fishing. I really had fishing skill in RuneScape. That was a lot of fun. Fishing in real life, not very fun. It's my dad would take me and my brothers out fishing when we were much younger, and it was never enjoyable. Ever, I don't think. I remember I would always feel so bad for the worms that he would put on the hook, because I would see them like squirming around in pain and whatnot, and I feel really bad for them because I always really liked worms as a kid. I know that oh, what the fuck? I wasn't ready. I was yawning. I know that one of the things I'll say that I've had to so I am, what do you call that? So when I become emotional, I tend to be someone who doesn't think and I just act. But Liz is kind of the opposite. It's very surprising in that aspect. It's be somebody who's like, all right, let me really think about this before I do anything. And that's been very like almost sobering for me because I've never really experienced that, and having to what do you call it? Having to stop myself from this reacting based on my emotions. For me, I don't get emotional too easily, but for Liz, I guess that's a very different story. It's actually been very rare for me to feel any form of strong emotion in quite a long time. I remember when I was younger, Whenever I was really happy, I would just start like crying, like tears of joy. Uh, it still happens even now, but it's just not as often that I'm like that as happy. Like to that extent, which is interesting to me. Like I have to really enjoy something for it to be able to for that to happen. I can't really think of too often when I've cried when I was sad. I don't think I really cry when I'm sad. I just isolate. Our fish are touching.
Don't touch my fish. It's like cross-contamination of fish species.
I mean, I think the radiation already did a number on them.
There's no radiation over here. They tested the waters.
I mean, there's a little radiation everywhere. Yeah.
Well, it's not enough to hurt you.
Yeah. Just for a few mutations. And like I think it's that radiation has caused some form of like weird muscle spasms that people keep having.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Hey, let's see, how's it going? Pretty good. Especially with Basil here. We're vibing. And, let's see. We're supposed to have a court case yesterday. Oh, look, lights are actually really beautiful. I just realized the lights are really beautiful over there. Now I look at it.
From the sandy area?
Yeah, they look nice,
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty nice. It looks nice with the trees and the fog and the clouds and
Slight glow over
the little radio tower or whatever
yeah.
the hell that is.
Stars in the sky. No, you're right. This was a good idea for our day, Basil.
Well, it's certainly better than your idea of a good day.
Oh, you didn't like the... You didn't like the couple's costume, Basil?
No, I did not.
We had the couples therapy date. That was a lot of funny. That was a big funny one. We also had the ultimate couple game show challenge, where it turns out that Liz and Basil knew each other very, very, very well. They almost won it. It came to like a sudden death round, and I failed at the very end. But we did win a runner-up prize of a couples therapy. I still need to redeem the couples therapy voucher. Now I think about it.
I think I'm gonna be busy for like the next month.
Seems pretty small, yeah.
Yeah,
Although we're supposed to.
maybe 3 months.
Okay, that's pretty very small, yeah.
Oh, maybe this whole year. You know, it's just my schedule's pretty full.
know, maybe we should talk about that during couples counseling.
I don't know
Maybe
if
you're
I'm gonna have
overworking
time
yourself.
for
You
that.
know, the other thing about it is if you're gonna be busy for a whole year, that feels kind of.
Yeah,
Maybe you need
that's
to take
sort of
some
life of
time
a
off.
business owner.
I don't know if life's all about work, Basil.
I don't know, Liz. Coming from you.
I mean, that should sound especially true coming from me.
Oh, why don't you take your own advice?
uh, I got sleep today. That's count for something, right?
What'd you get? 2 hours of sleep?
8 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
Although Basil was like, you know what, maybe I should get another husband recently. Like, okay, well, I mean, like, polygamy is technically legal. That was Liz's response. So they're going, yeah, they're going. Or we could plan that couples therapy event we wanted to do.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah. Let's see.
I was thinking about something else as well.
What's that?
I was thinking about doing a fishing tournament.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then I can buy all their fish afterwards for my food truck. And
That's
then
an idea.
also give like first, second, and third place a prize.
Multiple husbands. I know. I think she was referring to divorcing Liz, but what's it called? I was referring to her having multiple husbands. She's like, yeah, well, Harvey's going to give me $500 a day if he marries me, or if I'm married to him. I'm like, okay, well then and I guess yeah, you could have another husband then if you want. And Liz is like inside's like, oh, I'm not sure I like that idea, but he decided to say that anyway, so because he's panicking. Could you keep the name? Oh, you mean the last name? Oh, you mean like I take Harvey's? That'd be interesting if I took Harvey's last name. That'd be really funny, actually. That'd be Lislit. That'd be yeah, my name's Lislit. Oh, what no, I missed. Wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I'm supposed to have what's called Basil's last name anyways, because she proposed to Liz. But that's not what do you call that? Apparently, changing names is much harder than you have to basically be an admin to change names, and not even admin. You have to be above an admin to change names. You have to have like admin powers in the like be able to like basically spawn stuff, as far as I understand it. And not a lot of people have that power, so I need to speak with someone who has those powers to be able to have Liz's name changed. So Liz really likes Parsnip, but Parsnip hasn't been around in quite a while, and so Liz is like, you know what? Maybe Basil is actually pretty good. Maybe I do like Basil. Maybe he's actually, maybe I'm actually really happy with this marriage, and he's been growing. It's been growing on him over time. I mean, he's always been treating it very seriously, but I don't think he was really ever like in love with Basil. I don't think he's necessarily in love with Basil now. It's more like a very what'd you call that? Strong companionship. Like the reason he really wanted the marriage to last was because he is very, what'd you call that? He's not secure. He's not secure in his. He doesn't like being alone in nature, and so having someone who's contractually obligated to be with him makes him feel very secure. Basically, that's how I understood it for him. He's a very strange guy, and so he's the fact that he had that made him feel very comfortable. But after enough time, he's like, you know what? Maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe this is actually pretty nice. I mean, Basil's been helping him out a lot, and he's been helping Basil out a lot. And it's like, you know, this is actually really nice. And so it's what's called. He's been slowly growing on ideas. Like, you know, it's be nice to have it last forever, basically. But I think Basil's starting to understand what it means to be married to Liz slowly over time, as Liz further self-sabotages every single day. That's not every single day, but he does love the self-sabotage. I love doing it so much. It's so fun. With the crazy date ideas, the couples therapy date, that was a great idea. I loved it so much. It was a that was an amazing idea, and it led to so much RP as well. It was great. I loved it. Fuck. That was one of my best ideas for a date. Nobody would have thought of that couples therapy date idea. That's an original right there. It was like as soon as I woke up one day, Liz, I'm like, wait, Liz is therapy today. I could make that couples therapy. And it just came to me. I'm like, oh god, let's do it. Let's do it. And we did it. And it was great. Although we haven't really been able to do it again. We're supposed to have another couples therapy thing, like in 2 weeks, but Nicole ghosted us, and then the next time, let's go. She's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to ghost you guys. We'll schedule for another day." And then the next day we scheduled for it, ghosted again. Okay, let's let's see. As for future plans, I mean, it happens, you know. Some people just have stuff that comes up, or they're not able to make it for whatever reason. I get it. Having it happen twice is kind of a bit. I get it. I mean, like, even yesterday, we were supposed to have a court case, and 2 hours before the court case happens, the judge is like, actually, I have something that came up out of court, OOC. You know what I mean? The out of court OOC, that's the... Oh, what? I wasn't paying attention. And I can't... and I can't make the date. Even though, like, he was like... He even said very specifically in his lavish judgments, you will make it for this date, or else the witnesses will make it for this date, or else they will not be present for the court case or whatever. They won't have them for the court case. And I'm like, okay. He was like being very adamant about it. He said, a reminder today, we're having court. He just stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, you know, actually 2 hours before the court case, I can't make it. I get the stuff comes up, but it was just really it felt really hypocritical. But no, I get it. Stuff happens. Just, I'm surprised for me. I take what do you call that? I take scheduling things like and dates like very seriously, and that I'm like, I can't, if I schedule something, or if I can't miss that day. If I miss the time or whatever it is, I feel horrible. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I missed that. I can never do that ever again. I have to make sure I've set at least 7 alarms before, so it never happens again. But other people are like, yeah, you know what? It'd be kind of okay if I just don't say anything and ghost them, and then yeah, of course, you know, I get it. It happens. But I'd like there to be some sort of like, what do you call that? Some sort of like notice? Not really no notice, but like a heads up. I would like a heads up, please. I mean, I guess the judge at least gave us a heads up like 2 hours before the court case happened, but it didn't feel great. Well, with Nicole, it wasn't even a heads up. She was just like a couple hours later, oh, sorry, I missed our appointment. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you did miss our appointment. Why would you ask for it to be scheduled this time if you weren't able to make it? It's if you weren't able to make it until now, we could have definitely scheduled it for later. But yeah, sure, that's okay. But no, that's the bad thoughts inside me. I'm like, okay, let me just be very blameworthy for this thing. I don't need to necessarily blame anyone for missing things. I get that things come up. I've missed stuff as well. Like, just was a couple days ago, I was like, I told Beso I'd be in the city to help with the food truck for whatever day, and I was there and I was ready to help out, but I was like looking at my, I was laying in my bed looking at my my TV or whatever, and then I just, next thing I know, 4 hours has passed, and I'm like, oh god, I fell asleep. I'm like, fuck, I missed it. I missed it. So yeah, I get it. Stuff does happen. It's not that I was watching TV. I just fell asleep somehow without realizing it. But let's see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I feel like I'm expecting something to happen within the next like 10ish days, something big, but I'm not sure what exactly I'm expecting. I was talking a bit earlier about how I was planning on streaming for 3 months. That would be like my trial period to see what happens for the 3 months and see if I enjoy it or if I don't know. And because my accent, I didn't realize I had an accent. What's going on? I'm from Pennsylvania though. I guess everybody has an accent. I think about it. Yeah, everybody has an accent. Although I've been told that my way, what do you call that? My form of speech, my inflection, my what do you call that? Just the way I say things is very unique in nature. That's what Basil said, and that it's very or no, that's what Dizzy has said. I should say that. That's what Dizzy has said, and that she has synesthesia, referred to as, where whenever she hears things, she sees color, which is kind of strange. She's like, so I would take her, what do you call it, her hearing, or whatever, to be more accurate. And in nature, I guess, if you have another way to understand hearing. Or sound, I should say. But the way, I don't know, I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books, and so I read things in my head in the way that makes sense to me. And I guess what makes sense to me is doesn't make sense to others very often. And so for that reason, I end up having a very unique way of speech. Like, I know I often say words wrong. Not because whenever I learn the word, I just kind of like create the sound for it in my head. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it's said, actually. Like, I remember I used to call it a subtle rather than subtle because I didn't know the B was silent. And that was just because I'd read it in a book, and I'm like, okay, that's what that means. I learned the definition of it. But I never heard it actually said. And so I never heard it said, but I started using it in my vocabulary. And so for that reason, I would, let's say, subtle. But I am, I guess, not technically, but I've been diagnosed with autism, so I might sound strange for whatever that reason as well. I don't think I have a stutter, but for whatever reason, when I speak as lists, stutter seems to happen quite often. I think it wasn't by intention. My idea was that Lisp was supposed to have a stutter, and so because for that reason, I think I like unconsciously add a stutter to him whenever I speak as him. But I know my youngest brother, he's a very much so a speech impediment. He's much more autistic than me. Not stutter. Well, I don't know. Let's see what my accent is then. I've never really considered it. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people in the city sound like they're American in nature. Either that or European. Another country? That sounds crazy. It's possible. I mean, I picked up I'm very, what would you refer to that as? I pick up on things very fast, and so if I'll change the way I do things just based on the way people around me say things. Like if I hear someone saying something, a new lingo or whatever you call that, then I'll pick that up and start using it for myself. I know it's been so funny. It's been so fun watching Basil. She's been picking up on Liz's lingo quotations, the way he says things. She's been doing it herself. It's so funny. It's so funny. Like she does the I wonder about that. Yeah, I wonder. She's been doing that too, and it's so funny. It's hilarious when I see it. Like all of her, Liz is rubbing off on her. Yeah, she's just been picking up on his mannerisms, which is hilarious to me. And let's see, has Liz picked up any Basil's mannerisms? Probably. I may not have noticed them though. Basil doesn't have too many mannerisms. She does have like this weird, not really weird, but like she has this. What do you call that? She freaks out a bit. Not freaks out, but she's very strong-willed when it comes to what would be the term for that? When others are like more like hostile or aggressive or like demanding for things that they shouldn't be. She's more like, I don't know what you refer to as, steadfast. She's very steadfast in her belief that something is maybe unfair or too critical or asking too much of herself, which is something that Liz does not really have a lot of, but he's been a little bit copying her in that aspect, where he's now able to say no more easily than he was before. Aggressive. Maybe aggressive is the right word. I think that's more Dizzy rather than Basil, though. Basil isn't really aggressive, but I can tell when Dizzy starts coming down a bit, and she starts, and she'll start to curse, and then be a bit more aggressive. Like, I don't know what the fuck they're going on about over there. It's just that kind of gossip shit bothers me so much. And I'm like, oh god, does Basil always curse like this? No, that's the Dizzy coming out. Yeah, but Liz has been standing up for himself a bit more because of that. Like, Liz was working with the WTF law office for a while, and then Franklin was like, I don't know, somehow Liz really got on Franklin's bad side, because Franklin was like, yeah, you know what, you're no longer affiliated with WTF. Don't come to the office unless you have business with us. And I was like, okay, I guess that's if you want. Sure, whatever. I guess that's what it is. And so then I'm like, yesterday I had Liz trying to work for the state, because I'm like, all right, well, if you can't work for WTF, then fuck it. Let's move on. No reason to hold on to things. That's always been Liz's motto, you know, just put your head down and go forward. Move on whenever you're not wanted there. That happened for PDM, or for Up and Adam PDM. He started working at PDM because everyone up and Adam hated him there. He started working as a lawyer accidentally. That wasn't my intention that time. That's kind of happened. My other character is supposed to be the lawyer. And then he started somehow being a lawyer really fits him. I don't know why it fits him so well, but it does. And so it's been working out for him pretty well. As for the helping out Basil has been nice though. It feels very structured, routine in nature. So being a lawyer doesn't really have that kind of it has structure but doesn't have routine. So it's whenever you're dealing with a case, each case is unique in nature, and each case is, you know, has different contexts and different people, just different everything. And so there's no such thing as, like, you know, the same case. And for that reason, you don't have the same routine of the same thing every single day, or the same structure. You don't have the structure of it, like everything's structured in certain ways, but you have to kind of learn what that structure is, and then that structure will change over time because the laws will change and everything along those lines will change with the flow of the city and the way people want the city to work. So it's structured, but in a way that's very modular in nature. Things can be taken out, and new things can be added in very easily. And for that reason, it's very... It doesn't have the same kind of routine as just, like, you know, fishing like this, growing crops, and, you know, and then selling stuff to the food truck, which is nice. It's very much so like a form of I get the routine for the first half of the day with Basil, and then I get the more challenges, I guess, during the later half of the day with the lawyer work, where I'm learning, and I'm having to constantly like, okay, how would I do this? What kind of work do I need to do for this kind of thing? It feels much more faster paced. I'm not even sure faster paced is the word. There's just more to do whenever there is lawyer work, which can be kind of stressful at times. Like if I'm doing it all the time, I'm like, fuck. There were times where I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to. When I first started working as a lawyer with lists, I was like, I'm not sure I want to wake up today to have to do 2 or 3 hours of work whenever I first get in the city. I'm not sure I want to do that. But as I've gotten better at it, I'm starting to realize, okay, I don't actually need to do that much work. Well, thank you. I mean, I don't. So I don't. Autism, I think, is I use the word to. It helps people better understand me, and it can help people better understand themselves. But I don't necessarily view it as a disability. For some people, it can absolutely be disability. My youngest brother, he has autism worse than I do, and he definitely. I'm not sure if he would say suffers from it, but he definitely has setbacks because of it. I mean, I as well have setbacks because of it all the time, with just mainly dealing with people. Or a lot of times people will just misunderstand me and take something I say to be more hostile or like intentionally hateful in nature when I don't mean so. It happens very, very often, actually, when people will misunderstand me. But I've started to, very thankfully, I've managed to meet people in the city here who have helped and said, okay, this thing is bad for this reason. And as soon as I can get that, I'm good to go. I can then work with things. I can like, okay, I understand. I just need things explained to me. Some certain things that are common sense for others, I do not have that common sense. I need it explained to me. If you can explain to me common sense, then I can understand it. But if I don't have it explained to me, I can't understand it. Routine is kind of big to me, but more in the sense of how do you say? More in the sense of like real life routine is big to me, where I've. Like if something is like surprised on me, or like something like surprising, like if I were to find out that all of a sudden I have an appointment today, I'd be really freaked out by that. I'd be like, "Fuck! I didn't expect this. I didn't remember this. I had no idea," and that would freak me out a lot. That'd be bothering me. But if I had like a day's notice that okay, I have an appointment all of a sudden tomorrow, okay, that's not so bad. I can plan for this. I can accept. Like I need time to accept things. That's a good way of saying it. So like a routine is really good because you just automatically accept that this is going to happen the next day, right? For me, I need about a day-ish to be able to accept something new. Like even reading books, it'll take me, if I start reading a new book, it'll take me a good half hour to an hour to be able to get past the first paragraph. Not because like it takes me that long to read, but because it takes me that long to be able to accept that I'm reading something new. It's strange. It's very strange. But I love reading, even if it takes me an hour to read get past the first paragraph of the book. Afterwards, I start to read. I can just go, but it takes me that long to start accepting that something's new. I've been getting better at it though, because with stuff like being on call as a lawyer with lists has kind of forced me to be like, oh, okay, there's going to be new stuff that I'm going to have to deal with, and it's going to be unexpected in nature, and I just kind of have to be ready for it. But even that is something I've kind of had to accept in nature, that new things are going to have to be, are going to be dealt with. It's, but I have more control of it, over it, I feel like, and as long as I have control over it in some fashion where I can say, yes, I can do this, or yes, or no, I cannot, I'll almost always say yes, no matter what, anyways. But the fact that I can say no feels very good and feels very liberating. It makes me feel like, okay, I have control over this, and so I don't necessarily need to do this no matter what. I mean, there has been stuff that I've declined very much so as Liz, with his lawyer stuff, but that's mainly stuff that I feel like I can't do or I can't do well. I would not be able to do properly. And so for that reason, I declined doing so. Or if for whatever reason it's against ethical rules or for whatever. Ethics is something that's been very interesting. I've been learning as a lawyer. Like there's a bunch of like ethical rules that are not inherent or even like told to you. That is kind of like expected of you. And I'm like, oh, what is this? It's not something that exists for. It's not something that exists for people, unless they are in like some sort of higher up job, or like unless they're in some sort of job, I guess even, where like it's expected for you to get along with others in some fashion. But like in a more professional manner, I guess is a way of saying it. And so to see that happen is very interesting, because I'm like, okay, there's these rules, and I'm starting to understand why these rules exist and what they are for. And once I can understand that, then I can implement them. I need to understand before I can do anything, though. So there's 2 steps to become before change: awareness and understanding. You can't have change before those 2 things. Well, I mean, you can have change with just awareness, actually. With just awareness, you can have change, but it's much easier when you have understanding. Understanding is what allows you to, like, truly learn, though. But awareness is what allows you to change. So let me give an example of that. So example of awareness would be like, if you don't realize you have a bad habit, you can't necessarily change the bad habit, right? But if you realize you have a bad habit, then all of a sudden you can say, okay, let me do something differently instead of this bad habit. One example I can give is when I first got contacts, I would rub my eyes pretty hard because it would feel like it would irritate my eyes wearing the contacts at first. And so one day I rubbed my eyes pretty hard, and the contact went into like the side of my eye. And there was like this, like, a very small sliver sticking out of it. I'm like, oh god, oh god, oh god. And I had to like carefully over the course of like 5 minutes like work the contact out of the side of my eye. And I was really freaked out by that. I'm like, oh god, what if like a contact got like stuck back there? And they actually can get stuck back there, which is freaky. And so I'm like, all right, I need to stop rubbing my eyes immediately, right now. And so I started, okay, how can I change this? So I started to rub around my eyes, and that fit the desire. Like, I had to rub my eyes, but it didn't. But it stopped me from rubbing my eyes. I changed the bad habit and got rid of it. But it wasn't until I had an awareness of why that habit was bad in nature that I was able to change it, or that I even had the habit that I was able to change it. Let me see. I've been renting for a while. Let me, sometimes I feel out of breath after renting for a while. But let me think. You're curious? What are you curious about? Hmm. Probably both. So I've started doing it now as lists, but before I would speak very monotone as lists. That was somewhat intentional though, because I wanted Liss's voice to be very different from mine, and so monotone kind of fits that, right? And that it's something that feels like I can't really do a voice too well, because if I do a voice for too long, my throat ends up hurting quite a bit. If I change my voice too much. But so I'm like, okay, how can I do a voice without really doing a voice? Or you know what I mean? And so I'm like, all right, let me just change the way he says things, though. And so I removed inflection from his voice, and he just spoke very monotone in nature. And for that reason, people got freaked out by it. I was listening to it on other people's streams, and I was freaked out by it. Honestly, I'm like, what the fuck? This is really, something about it was just off. Like, you wouldn't notice it at first, but after listening to it for like an hour or two, you would just be like, you would just feel like this really, like, something was like subtly off, just a little bit. There was something off, and then it would just grow over time, that feeling. And I'm like, oh god, is this what people are experiencing? I'm like, oh god, I had no idea. And so I started adding inflection to Liz's voice, and once I started doing that, people actually just stopped like being weirded out by Liz. I'm like, I didn't realize it was actually that easy. That just adding inflection to your voice was enough to stop people being weirded out by you. But that actually was it. I just started adding inflection, and all of a sudden people started acting very much so differently around Liz. Like, oh, okay, this person is this is a person. This is a human, basically. But I think people were getting like an uncanny valley feeling from the lack of inflection in the Liz's voice. But once I started doing that, I do feel like I do feel like what would be the term for that? I don't want to like self-insert too much as Liz, but I feel like people they didn't really like the character Liz, and so but for some reason they kind of like me more than Liz ever was as a character, and so I'm kind of having to make him more like me every day is what I felt like for quite a while, rather than as the character I was originally created. Because the the original list was very more annoying in nature, very monotone, very I don't know, dislikable. But now that I've changed them to be more human, I guess is the word, more self-inserting, as much as people seem to like them a lot more. I didn't really want to self-insert, so I had to make a character that was very different from me. But apparently, it's maybe too different from how people normally work because people really didn't like them. But something about List being married has like stabilized him in a way, so where he's much more like cautious. I'm not sure if cautious is the right word. Yeah, cautious. Maybe cautious is the right word. With the way he does things now. Now he doesn't do too much crazy stuff. He doesn't sue judges anymore. Doesn't he doesn't create conflicts with people who are very big in like the head dispatcher. You know, the stuff like that. He's even made up of some of the people who have originally hated him at up and up. Like he Meredith really hated him. But Liz managed to speak over her boyfriend, and they had a good talk. And he's like, you know what? Maybe I'll give you another chance, and I'll try and tell other people to give you another chance as well. And other people who seem to hate you. And I'm like, wow, well, thank you about that. I appreciate that. And so, we managed to very surprisingly, we managed to improve the incredibly negative, hateful relationships that Liz had. That's incredibly difficult. Once somebody has like a negative opinion of you, changing that in any form is like something that's almost impossible. So for Liz to be able to do that, that's very surprising to me. This was making enemies left and right previously, but now he seems to be only making friends, which is good. I mean, I really don't like hostility. Hostility bothers me quite a bit. It's something that I'm like, fuck, I don't like that. I don't want to deal with that. I'm not sure if this is something I even want to. This doesn't make roleplay fun for me if people are just constantly being hostile towards me. But now I'm starting to understand what might cause that hostility, and so I'm more not doing those things that might cause hostility around people who don't know Liz very well. So, for instance, I no longer make the serial killer comments around people unless they know Liz pretty well. Because people were getting weirded out by the serial killer comments. I mean, I was doing it like as a joke, and it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious, but other people were like, I don't know, is this guy actually a serial killer? Like, I don't understand. It's it's just it is a game, yeah, but for people to get weirded out by something like that in like a game whenever he's never done anything, I feel like it's very strange to me. But whatever. I just enjoyed making like really serial killer comments and then playing it off as like Liz being really awkward. It was so funny to me. But now we can only make those comments around people who are not bothered by them. So, mad at this. So now, what do you call it? The people like Basil, people like Roland, people like not too many other people, honestly. Maybe people like Kristoff? Yeah, maybe people like Kristoff. People who have experience with Liz's antics and aren't really bothered by them. I just love messing with people so much. It's so fun. When I was much younger, I used to mess with my younger brothers all the time, and I loved it. But when I became a teenager, I just like stopped messing with them pretty much. And I always wondered, I'm like, where did that? All right. Oh yeah, thanks for stopping by though. Good to see you. Yeah, thanks. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, it's nice to be able to talk to people. Well, like out of character, I should say. As much as it's nice to talk to people in character, out of character is also nice as well because I don't really get too much of a chance to be able to explain things or to I don't know, interact as myself rather than as Liz. Yeah, but have a good bike ride. Let's see. Lights are nice. I've been talking for a while. Did another 4-day pass, or what exactly happened? Or is it just more night now? It's more night now. It's nice that we can get beat this way rather than just hunting, because hunting is it's interesting, but after doing it for like an hour or two, I'm like, oh god, do I have to continue doing this? Okay, I guess we've fished for quite a while, but more fishing. See, I think Basil was planting at, what was it? Oh, I should probably be talking more, I guess. But usually whenever if I'm not streaming, I'm just like pretty silent whenever people think, oh, you're really talkative, right? Not really. I mean, if I'm interested in something, maybe, but more often not, I don't talk that much. Though there are definitely ways to get me to keep, to start ranting about something. Hmm. 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 Fishing level?
Probably like 1,000,000 by now.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I'm pretty good fisher, you know. Still got like 27 minutes before the crops are done.
What kind of plans do you have, Basil?
What kind of what?
What kind of plans do you have?
What do you mean?
I don't know.
I just want to get the business going.
Well, yeah, but I mean, was that going to be like your everything? You're just a business?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hmm.
Yeah, just getting people outdoors and active and enjoying life instead of getting stuck in the hustle bustle, you know?
Who would enjoy life?
There's a lot out there to see, especially in Toledo.
That's true. That's nice, cool. I've been enjoying getting better as an attorney. That's been nice. And maybe if I work for the state, now I'll find something new in that regard as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think lawyer work is kind of a never-ending cycle of learning and experiencing things. So.
Yeah, each case is it's unique in its own way, right? So it's there's never really a true routine to it.
I don't mind the routine.
Well, I think routine's a good thing, honestly. Yeah, like it's nice to have it, but having too much of it can be difficult at times. But having too little is also a problem.
I enjoy my cozy life. I don't like it to be too hectic.
Yeah, I mean, I like a little bit of hecticness. Or thanks for the raid, Space Lizard. Space Lizard Scruffy. I appreciate it. What's it called? I don't think Have I met you with Liz? I don't know the what do you call that? People's character names. Compared to the what's called their usernames too well. What's called? I was talking to Basil about the goals our characters are having. For Liz, I'm having him want to go state. I'm not sure where I want to take him after that. We'll find out maybe. I mean, routine's definitely nice.
I don't know. I
think
I grew up being in a routine, and it's.
You mean
where I
the one
feel
with the
more
cone?
Comfortable.
That berry?
Things that are kind of I mean, not that I don't like spontaneity or anything. I just the fear of the uncertain is, I guess, what gets to me.
I mean, there's always going to be a fear of uncertainty, right? But
I like to try to
maybe.
avoid it as much as possible.
I may have met him, possibly.
A little bit easier for me to manage.
Thanks for the raid, though. I appreciate that.
Because yeah, while stuff
hopefully,
can
I mean, I
happen
probably
during
met
that
you.
routine,
Maybe at the
least
Basil
I feel
truck.
comfortable doing something that I guess I'm comfortable doing in a way.
Well, do you ever want to like challenge yourself?
No, not really.
Huh.
That's terrifying to me.
Well, of course, challenging yourself is never something that's easy. But I feel like you can grow, if you overcome the said challenge, right?
Yeah, or you can just crash and burn.
Absolutely, but isn't that the thrill of it?
Yeah, I don't like that thrill.
Why do you like that thrill? That's
Like I said, it's terrifying.
It's like a good kind of terrifying,
I like
right?
to feel in control. Which is probably a downfall, but
No, I think
it
that's
helps
true for
me
everybody.
survive.
Everybody likes to have some form of control in their life. So, just the way they achieve that control is different for each person. Now, whenever I feel like I'm lacking in control, you know what I do?
What?
Self-sabotage.
Yeah, I don't want to do that though.
You should try it. It's a lot of fun, actually. It's
I mean, I've done it already. Twice.
In what way? Oh,
Well,
well.
you really want to know it?
It wasn't such a bad idea, Beza. It wasn't such a bad idea.
What do you? Yes, it was.
Well, sometimes it's okay to embrace bad ideas. That's what I've learned. Oh, short, old, and overalls.
I don't know.
I know the one guy.
Maybe you're right, but I don't know if you are.
Well, I mean, I always say, try it yourself before you turn something down.
Well, yeah, I did, and I regretted it both times.
You're letting yourself regret it, though.
Well, I don't know. I think it's just like the overwhelming feel of what the fuck did you just do? And as much as I try to tell myself it'll all work out in the end, will it really?
Absolutely will.
I don't know.
Things will always work out. That's what I found. I mean, I've made a whole bunch of mistakes, and somehow every single time it's worked out.
Maybe you're just lucky.
Well, maybe I'm lucky to have you helping me. It's
I'll always be here as your friend, Liz.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll always be there for you as well.
I appreciate it.
Platonically. That's
Yes, platonically, Liz.
you can always sell it to people, for the what's it called? I think fish sells for like what, or meat sells for like $7 for each item. That's pretty good. I mean, if you're really what's it called? You can sell meat for about like $7, yeah, for each item, which is pretty good. And that's not hard to find. A food trucks will take meat. Just give me your meat. So, and fishing is nice. You just get to hang out, and it's not as interactive as hunting, but you just, you're just able to talk to people. Because duo hunting is much more difficult in nature. Let's see. So you said you like routine then. What do you feel like brings you routine?
I mean, basically all I really know is that, is I know how to cook and help people. So that's why I like the business is my main goal.
Okay.
Because I feel comfortable doing that, like interacting with people.
I mean, I felt that you're surprisingly, like, incredibly good at articulation.
It depends on the situation. Depends if I feel comfortable in the situation or not. Because there's definitely certain instances where I don't feel comfortable. I've been thrown out of that comfort zone with just like something somebody says, and sometimes I don't know the best response to it.
So you don't like having as much responsibility in the matter?
I wouldn't say that. It's just mainly, like for instance, like when Lambda sent me a text, right? And he's like, oh, I don't even remember what it said. Hold on, let me look and catch this fish.
Hmm. I'm curious. Who's the character Basil? I haven't actually done much. Or
Since I had Kristoff bring him some food for his bench trial, and then he sent me a heart. And then I was just like, well, I just thought you might need to pick me up for the bench trial. And he said, as thoughtful as you are pretty, huh? I didn't know how to respond to that.
I guess you could just not respond to it, make it feel really awkward. Yeah.
I just said thank you. I appreciate the kind
Oh,
words.
okay. You could also do that, yeah.
Yeah, but like, I was trying to ask Alex and Alfie, Alfred Alfie, not Alfonso, like what I should say, and of course they're just like, you should be like, wanna fuck, question mark, or all
That's
this weird stuff. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, I think I'd be freaked out if I.
But yeah, it's just like certain instances like that where I'm not expecting that sort of response, and then it happens, and then I don't know what to say.
Or you, maybe you self-deprecate and saying, "We think I'm not very thoughtful at all."
Yeah, but I'm not. See, I wouldn't do that. Because, like, I do think I'm thoughtful, but the other part, maybe not so much.
I think you're pretty. You're definitely pretty.
Yeah, but see, I don't see myself in that way, and I don't take compliments very well, I think is what it is. I don't know how to accept compliments. Like,
Well,
for instance, a guy came to the food truck yesterday, and he was like, thank you so much, I appreciate you, and then I punched him in the face.
that's reasonable.
Yeah, I was like, don't ever say you appreciate me again.
What if he like appreciated you platonically then? In that instance, is that okay? Is that? That's
Well, I probably still would have punched him because it's still a compliment nonetheless. I didn't really mean to punch him, but it happened. Just like a, you know,
Yeah, it's the radiation.
my fight or flight response, I guess.
Remember that? Radiation just causes muscle spasm sometimes. That's all. Is it bad? Let me ask you this then. Is it a bad thing if you don't know what to say?
I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but it gives me anxiety when I don't know how to respond. So it's not like inherently a bad thing. For me, it feels like a bad thing because I get anxious.
Well, what is anxiety to you?
Well, I basically freeze up, and it's kind of like leaves me speechless. Like I don't know what to say, and then like my body gets all tense, and then like I start like thinking about every possible outcome and like what could happen, and then that makes me even more anxious.
Well, I always do that. It doesn't sound well, thinking about every possible outcome thing, but
Well, like I said, inherently it's not a bad thing, but for me it kind of is because it gives me some weird anxiety, like makes my heart race and makes my body tense up, and then
well, is anxiety a bad thing?
I mean, it can be, right?
It can be,
Depends on
absolutely
how, like,
can
your
be.
body responds to it, and for me, it almost makes me feel sick.
Like out of fear?
Yeah, I guess I could say that. Yeah, kind of out of fear. Like I said, the fear of the unknown, right? Because, like,
Yeah.
Regardless
It's
of
not
how
just
you
don't. It's
respond,
that
you don't know how the person's gonna respond.
being
to your
accepting of
response,
having anxiety in
and
the first
that
place.
just
That it's not
terrifies me.
necessarily inherently a bad thing.
Like, am I gonna say the wrong thing? Am I gonna do the wrong thing? How are they gonna take it? Am I gonna make them upset? Like, it's just constantly going through my head when I say anything.
It seems like you're worrying about the other person in that instance.
Yeah, I tend to have that issue. I don't necessarily worry about myself. I worry about how somebody else will react to me. There's obviously times where I don't really care how people feel, but that's mostly if I don't really care about that person at all.
Also, whenever they make some sort of they make what would you refer to that as, some sort of request, or they say something that seems like kind of out there. It's like, why would you ever say something like that? You tend to be very forthcoming with your dislike of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem if I feel like something's wrong responding to it. It's more like if it's like a normal everyday situation, and I just don't really know what the proper response to that would be, and I don't want to upset them. If they're already being kind of like inherently aggressive or confrontational, then yeah, I have no problem responding to that with the same, like, you know.
No, I think I'd probably have the opposite problem, where that I have a problem with that, but I don't really have a problem with not knowing what to say.
Yeah, it's more everyday kind of situations for me. Like if someone was to come up and basically like, fuck you, I hate you, I'm like, okay, cool, you're entitled to your own fucking opinion, and now I hate you as well because you're a rude person. You know, like I have no problem saying that.
For me, it'd be like, why? I don't think I've ever met you or done anything to, against you, so why?
Yeah, see, I feel like everyone's entitled to their own opinion, so I'm never going to fault them for that, but I will call them out on it if it's something that I feel like is irrational. Like, sort of instances like that. Where I know I didn't do anything wrong, so I'll call them out for being an asshole because I know I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, for me, I don't think people do things that are not, maybe not rational, but that are not reasonable. To them, at least, right?
Yeah, I get that.
Like, I don't think people ask unreasonable things of people. If they... Well, there are definitely people that do, but, like, they themselves don't think of it as unreasonable. Most of the time. And so I have to reason out, okay, why do they think this is reasonable? Or why do they think this is reasonable?
I think I do care about understanding how people kind of like come to their own reasoning, but not all the time. There are certain times where I really don't care what their reasoning behind it is. So I think that's where we're different. I don't care to understand all the time.
I always try to understand, but maybe you're right, and I should not try to understand some things if I feel like it's too different or too separate from my way of thinking.
Yeah, I think it comes down to like, is this person ever going to change the way that they're acting that way because they believe that that's right?
Sometimes, yes, actually.
Or if there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, yeah, they might be able to be like swayed from their certain opinion, then those are the times that I might say something. But like if I feel like they're just stuck in their ways, then I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna be stuck in my ways of being hard-headed and also confrontational when I feel like it should be necessary.
Like, I was pretty amazed whenever whenever that one farmer guy, he was being like really weird and being like, why are you planting here? And like, what are you guys doing here? Are you really like farmers? I was kind of like, what the, why is this guy being like this? And he's kind of like, hey, could you just like go away, basically? And I was like, what the?
I was like, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that sort of thing, that's where I come into like, well, he's already inherently being confrontational and, there's a whole ass field. And I don't feel like he's going to understand if I say something like that, so I'm just going to end it with, have a good day. Like, I don't want to have this conversation, basically. The whole thing about not driving on the soil was definitely silly to me, because I'm like, do you realize what tractors do?
He was just saying stuff because he didn't like us there. I understood that point.
I know. No, I understood that as well. That's why I was trying to, like, poke holes in his logic. He's like, oh, you're driving on the soil. That's not good for the soil. I'm like, what the hell do you think a tractor does? And a tractor is at least double the weight of my car, if not more. And has bigger tires and a whole harvester thing on it.
Yeah, you're pretty good at it, actually, poking holes in logic. I think that's, like, required to both be articulate and to understand, how other people can understand things.
Yeah, like I get what he was saying. I understand. He's just like, be careful, but at the same time, like one, I was nowhere near his crops, and two, I'm not gonna damage the soil by driving on it.
I didn't really understand what he was saying. I just like this guy's kind of being
Yeah,
kind
he
of
was
weird.
just saying, "Oh, you almost hit my crops," and I mean, you could clearly see my tire marks in the soil. I was nowhere near them. There was at least a good few feet in between my tire marks and his crop.
To me, it felt like he was being territorial.
Oh, he was 100%. Because he had already came up like when I was planting them, right? And like, oh, how long are you gonna be here? Oh, well, I usually plant here. Well, I was just curious. I'm like, okay, well, that's nice. There's like 4 other fields that are similar nearby if you really don't want to plant near me, but I take up a small little corner with the way that I plant to try to leave space for people.
Hmm.
So I'm doing everything in my power to share the land, and you just want to be the way you are.
I mean, I think having like a territory, quotations, is like not something that it lends to stagnation. Like it kind of allows such things to happen, which is why I'm thinking something like a business in nature could lend towards something like that, but I don't necessarily think it has to.
I mean, yeah, if he wants to talk to some real estate people and buy that like that land, then that'd be a different story, right?
Well, I was
That'd be
referring,
his private property.
I
But...
was referring more towards your business.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But yeah, I mean, if that's something
I
you're
can
okay
in
with.
theory buy from farmers and stuff, yeah, but at the same time, like, this is what I grew up doing. It's kind of like in my nature to do that. I try to outsource as much as possible for meat, but it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I can't operate because I haven't gotten contact with the people that sell me meat and fish, you know?
I guess I didn't explain myself very well in the. So stagnation, I generally view as something that is more negative, that isn't leading to growth, and that can just lead to I don't know, like just not growth. And I think that growth is always important to kind of strive towards.
I agree.
And so for me, anything that could like lead towards stagnation, I feel like is more something that you should, maybe not should, something that I would like to shy away from.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.